Hello everybody. Well, this is something I've had to do once before, and it's something that I'm hoping this will be the last time I have to do. But today we're inside my 1982 EXP, my blue one, my blue 82. And last time I used it, when I ran the fan, some smoke would come out of all of my vents. My AC isn't hooked up, so it doesn't work. When you set the AC to something, it doesn't do anything, but the fan turns on like it should. And I had replaced the fan's resistor pack, which is that guy, and because that had burned out, and I knew that because my fan would only work on high. What had happened is that's what I call a physical resistor, so it uses windings of steel to be resistors. It is very crude but very effective. Problem is those generate a lot of heat, and they're open to the air coming past them. Now, herein lies the problem. If your car has been stored poorly, it's quite possible you have mice nest remainders inside there. Because, if you store your car poorly, mice will take all the insulation out of your car, and in EXPs and L7s. It's this. It's a gray, woolly shreds, so it's just, like recycled wool, cotton fabrics of that nature. So it's just recycled stuff. It's all wooled together like wool on a sheep's back, and then it's put behind panels within your car, under the carpet, stuff like that. But if you store your car poorly, mice will get into your car, of course, but they will use that insulation for mice nests, and they love it. And they will pee all over it because it is not their home, even though they're using it as a home. They're just poor, crappy renters. So they drag that stuff into your HVAC box. They make a home out of it. And then when you turn on the fan, it could turn slow. Maybe it doesn't turn at all, but you hear it go struggling because it's just turning oodles of wool in there. And that's what happened when I first got this back on the road. It had been sitting for 12, 15 years. 12 years. It had been sitting 12 years from when we parked it to where I first drove it before I even restored it. And that's what was going on. The fan wasn't working well because this was all just full of material. But the fan did work on high. It'd spin a little faster and faster, and eventually it got up to speed. It turned out it was stuffing all the mice nests into the far left portion of this cavity, where there is a separator controlled by this guy. You hear that thumping? That's opening and closing a valve, or a shutter door, between the main air compartment and then the heater core and the AC evaporator, or core, whatever you want to call that. It's what looks like a radiator for the AC system. But yeah, all the mice nests had stuffed themselves down in this corner. But I got tired of the fan not working, so I pulled the fan out, cleaned up everything inside of it. I replaced the resistor pack, and all was well. Well, recently things started smoking, and I was wondering if it was my fan motor going bad. Nope. I put it up in a vise. You'll need to do this if you really want to test it outside the car. But I put it up on the vise, pinched the side to do it, and then I hooked up the connector to a 12-volt source, and that sucker spun like you wouldn't freaking believe, and it didn't make any bit of smoke. So I know the fan is not the issue, and I know the resistor pack is not the issue. That's brand new. So what's left? Well, when I took the fan out, even though I had cleaned this what I thought was the entire tray in previous seasons, turned out a little bit more of this insulation had cycled around, and it's kind of nice. It kind of catches in this bottom corner, and once you remove the fan, it's kind of easier to get at. But there was some stuff down in here, and the problem was when the fan was running, all that all that wool that was down in here would float up because it's just floating in the wind, and every time it touched that resistor pack, because like I said, they're just coils of wire that get warm, and they turn bright red. Some of the times. So that would actually heat up that stuff, and it would smolder. That's what made it smoke when I used the fan. But while I have the stuff out before I put it back together, I'm going to show you, how to tend to some of this stuff. Now I should mention that this car is an air-conditioned car, a factory AC car. What that means is this entire HVAC box is completely different from the standard non-AC cars, and your resistor pack is in a totally different spot. On the others, it points out right at you. On this one, it's up top and at an angle. The heater core on the AC model is also behind the radio, where on the other cars, there's a rectangle panel here. You undo just a couple bolts, panel comes out, you have access to your heater core. And then lastly, the fan is in its own special location. This is kind of the only thing you'll see on a AC car. You will not see this on a non-AC car. It's this big old fan opening. So on the non-AC cars, your fan will not look like this. Now the motor might be the same, but I'm willing to bet the big thing that's special is the surround, this mounting plate. That's going to be AC car specific. The turbine itself and the motor itself, those are probably one does all. But it's not too bad to change. You do have to remove the glove box, and that's just going to be a couple screws here, one screw here, and then your glove box comes out with the hinge bar that it's mounted on. Then your fan motor, it just has 3 or 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3. Some are supposed to have one up top. Yep, you can see mine is supposed to, but it didn't have a screw up there, and that's fine. Oh, sorry, maybe it did. Yes, there was a 4 screw down here, so it did. And then that resistor pack, it's just 2 screws. Most of the stuff is going to be Phillips. Most of or I should say half of it's going to be Phillips, and the other half is going to be like 8mm. Nothing too bad. But anyhow, I've taken enough of your time. This is what you're looking for, so hope I could be of help to some of you guys.